From stories across the globe to stories here at home.
This is the National News Broadcast.
A very good evening to you. I'm Sharifa Tahir.
And I am Thilina Udayaratna. For starters, we take a quick look at tonight's top stories.
The Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna celebrates its 5th anniversary. The Prime Minister emphasizes the need for all parties to work together as one for the future of the country. Sri Lanka is proud to be a co-lead of the Global Energy Compact for no new coal power. The President delivers these remarks while addressing world leaders. Secretary to the President says a non-traditional budget will be presented to the country this time. Revised dates for advanced level, ordinary level and grade 5 scholarship examinations announced. No power interruption in the next 2 days, the CEB says.
We move on to those and other stories in detail. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa says that Sri Lanka is proud to be a co-lead of the Global Energy Compact for no new coal power. The president also said that steps are being taken to phase out the use of fossil fuels. The president made these remarks addressing the World Leaders Summit COP26 held in Glasgow, Scotland yesterday. The COP26, the UN Climate Change Conference held as the critical moment in the fight against climate change, is attended by around 25,000 people representing a wide range of fields including heads of state, government representatives, scholars and business from 197 countries. It is reported that this is the largest conference ever held in the United Kingdom. US President Joe Biden, French President Emmanuel Macron, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, Prime Minister of Italy Mario Draghi, Prince Charles and UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres also addressed the main summit. The United Nations Conference on Climate Change, which commenced on October 31st, will be held until the 12th of November in Glasgow.
It is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa, President of Sri Lanka. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
This event takes place at a critical time for humanity. As a developing tropical island nation with abundant biodiversity, Sri Lanka is deeply aware of the impacts of climate change. Our rich philosophical heritage, shaped by Lord Buddha's teachings, places great value on environmental integrity. Sustainability is therefore at the heart of our national policy framework. Sri Lanka's updated nationally determined contributions aims to reduce emissions towards achieving carbon neutrality by 2050. We have prioritized enhancing national forest cover with initiatives underway to increase our carbon sequestration capacity by 7% by 2030. We will increase contribution of renewable energy sources to 70% of national energy needs by 2030 and are taking steps to phase out use of fossil fuels. Sri Lanka is also proud to be a co-lead of the Global Energy Compact for no new coal power. Sri Lanka recently restricted imports of chemical fertilizers, pesticides and weedicides due to public health concerns, water contamination, soil degradation and biodiversity impacts. Although opposed by entrenched lobbies, this has created opportunities for innovation and investment into organic agriculture that will be healthier and more sustainable in future. Reactive nitrogen emissions from overuse of artificial fertilizer is a major contributor to climate change. In 2019, Sri Lanka spearheaded the Colombo Declaration on Sustainable Nitrogen Management, which seeks to have nitrogen waste by 2030. We look forward to more countries joining this initiative. Sri Lanka also leads the action group on mangrove ecosystems and livelihoods under the Commonwealth Blue Charter initiative. Sri Lanka welcomes investments, technology transfers, and climate financing for its ambitious sustainability efforts, along with broader development assistance to support recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. Climate change affects all nations, but disproportionately impacts developing island nations. Developing nations that take bold steps towards climate change mitigation and adaptation deserve extensive support. It is essential that the world's largest emitters of greenhouse gases fulfill their national commitments and assist developing nations navigate through the climate crisis. I call upon all nations to work together in a spirit of true cooperation to overcome this crisis and sustain humanity and our planet.
Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa says the parties, despite the size, which had strived for one purpose in challenging times, cannot be distanced under any circumstances. The Prime Minister emphasized that all parties who had gathered in the past for the country's future should work together as one. The Prime Minister made these remarks while addressing the 5th National Convention of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna today. The convention was held with the theme Towards Prosperity with Pride. The event was held at the Nelumpokuna Mahinda Rajapaksa Theatre in Colombo. The leader of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, graced the event as chief guest. Mahasangha, other religious leaders, leaders of the affiliated parties of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, cabinet ministers, state ministers and parliamentarians of the party were present at this occasion. The party had taken measures to hold the event with a limited number of party members while adhering to strict health guidelines in the face of COVID-19. In a congratulatory message, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa said that the political duties fulfilled by the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna in a period of 5 years should be praised at all means. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa said that in 2015, the country was deprived of a nationalist government by foreign forces. A government that vowed to the people that it stands for good governance had systematically undermined national security. He added that it had created the environment to allow extremist religious groups to grow in the country. The country is still suffering from the devastation inflicted on the national economy from the bond scam of the central bank. At a time when society was oppressed unjustly, the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna emerged democratically. The party unanimously elected him as the presidential candidate. He added that all members of the party came together for the beginning of a people's era. The mission of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna to form a government with a 2/3 majority is historic. The President pointed out that when the country was grappling with COVID-19, the members came forward to play the national role of a party that protects the country. Today's nation is open to fair and just criticism. The quality of the public service has improved and 60,000 graduates were recruited into the public service to enable the country to develop its intellectual skills. The mechanism to provide employment opportunities to 100,000 underprivileged youths has already begun by today. The President emphasized that the government is taking challenging decisions for a local economic model that will strengthen a people-friendly economy with the ultimate hope of a prosperous country. Through the party's motto, Think Differently, Act Fearlessly, the members are playing an indelible role in the history for a united country, a sovereign nation and prosperous state. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa said that they continue to engage in politics with much patience and commitment to gain power. Once gaining power, they would keep distance from political activities. They're in such a state at present. He said that a party's pride and popularity is not secured through power itself. The political engagement between the people should also be maintained while managing state institutions upon gaining this power. In his belief, the teacher principal protests continued as they were not engaged in political affairs. The agrarian protests that occurred due to the failure to resolve their issues through political mediation. He said that they should understand the voice of the people. The party members have the responsibility to initiate the political role in the Vistas of Prosperity policy framework. The people who voted for them are experiencing a challenging period at present. The Premier added that despite public criticism, they should look into the issues of the people. Following the bomb attack occurred in Kabitigullava, he said that he undertook the responsibility of the nation's security. The Prime Minister added that he continued to bear the same responsibilities during his time in the government as well as in the opposition. This party appreciates peace and harmony which had come through to us from the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. He added that Sri Lanka's Freedom Party has always been together with the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. In politics, the most important aspect is the objective of the party, not the size. He said that despite the size, all affiliated political parties were with them throughout the journey, even in the challenging times. Therefore, those parties will not be distanced under any circumstances and will continue on this journey together. They will not betray the nation which they have saved from the Norway's ceasefire agreement, rejecting UN Human Rights Council's resolution and by not signing the MCC agreement. The people can still place their trust on the party which had saved the nation against the world's largest terrorist organizations. The Premier said that the nation placed their trust on the integrity and commitment of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. The youth who had distanced themselves from politics voted for the president by placing their trust on him. Therefore, Minister Basil Rajapaksa said that this party was created with the aspiration to achieve victories for the people. They respect those who are affiliated with the party and humbly mentioned that the challenges posed by the opposition, those became their strengths in the journey. He requested party leaders and members to come together in cooperation to render some service to the nation. This is the biggest challenge that is before them. He requested the party members to lead their respective communities to win this challenge. He also extended his gratitude for the affiliated parties and ensured they will not forget the contributions of these parties. They have been vested with a responsibility by the people and all should commit to provide necessary cooperation for the President, the Prime Minister and all the public representatives to fulfill this responsibility.
In the meantime, the 5th anniversary of Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, which scored many victories for Sri Lanka, challenging traditional political parties and all other forces, falls today. Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna was able to get the ruling power by establishing records in the political history of Sri Lanka within a short period of establishing the party. With the defeat of presidential election 2015, Mr. Basil Rajapaksa shoulders the responsibility of establishing Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna on the instructions of Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa. Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna was established on the 2nd of November 2016 with a strong organizing network and a determined process. The May Day rally at Golfis Green in 2017, before passing 1 year of establishing Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, is considered the biggest political rally in the history. Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna contested local government elections in 2018 as the youngest political movement in Sri Lanka. At that election, Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna was able to win more than 70% of local government institutions. It is a significant political incident in the political history that Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa, who was named as a presidential candidate of 2019 by Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, becoming the 7th executive president of the country. Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna was able to obtain a two-thirds majority, enhancing a victory at the past general election. Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna is also consisted of the highest number of trade union network belonging to a political party. More than 250 trade unions are working with the Podujana Progressive Trade Union Centre. The party has a network representing all strata of the society. The government is successfully managing the COVID-19 pandemic, which has become a global crisis. The government has been able to secure the public life through a successful national vaccination program. Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, which was created to fulfill the aspirations of the people, will move forward under a people-friendly agenda while securing these priorities. Appreciating the efforts taken to fulfill the duty to create a people-friendly government while building Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, the Prime Minister presented a souvenir to the party founder and national organizer, Mr. Basar Rajapaksa.
Secretary to the President P.B. Jayasundara said that he believes a budget with a new vision and program that goes beyond the traditional budget will be presented to the country this time. He made these remarks while addressing the media conference held at the Presidential Media Centre today via video technology. The media briefing was organized under the theme Future Budget and the Economic Situation of the Country. He said that priority will be given to the fields of green economy, renewable energy, information technology and digital governance, and special attention has been drawn to increase the income of the country, working within the national policy framework Vistas of Prosperity and Splendor. The production volume of goods and services should be increased to generate revenue for the country. Revenue policies that can increase the volume of goods and services will be included in this budget. The Secretary pointed out that the rural agrarian economy should be uplifted and the development of infrastructure facilities in this regard has been identified as priority. The Secretary to the President said that an attractive country should be created for local entrepreneurs, new investors as well as tourists, and in addition to the country's resources, new investment opportunities would be created for the country through these initiatives. Many in the region are looking at our country to obtain financial advantages of its geographical location. The Secretary to the President pointed out that the economic revival requires alternative centers, that this economic revival will not take place within the existing economic model, but on the requirements based on a green economy, renewable energy, information technology and digital governance. The Secretary to the President commented extensively on the damage caused to the world economy by COVID-19 and its impact on Sri Lanka. He also explained the payment of salaries to public servants, the rest of the expenditure that are being made without any deductions, and the economic process carried out by the government without disrupting the day-to-day lives of people. The supply chains in the world and in our country were disrupted due to COVID-19. He pointed out that the country's production needs to be enhanced and distribution methods should be properly carried out. He also expressed confidence that the removal of interprovincial travel restrictions would help achieve the country's return to normalcy. Finance Ministry Secretary S.R. Artigala said a new economic growth is expected along with the normalization of the country. The Finance Secretary pointed out that continuing to widen the budget deficit was not in the best interest of the country and that this year's budget will focus on reducing this gap.
The revised dates for the Grade 5 Scholarship, Advanced Level and Ordinary Level examinations for the year 2021 have been announced. The Cabinet of Ministers have granted approval for the revised schedule in this regard. The Grade 5 Scholarship exam will be held on January 22nd next year. GCE Advanced Level examinations will be held from February 7th till the 5th of March next year. GCE Ordinary Level examinations are expected to be held from the 23rd of May until the 1st of June. Schools were reopened for Grade 5 students on the 25th of October this year, 6 months after the COVID-19 pandemic. Schools for GCE Ordinary Level and Advanced Level students are scheduled to be opened on the 8th of November. The revised time schedules were presented to the Cabinet of Ministers by the Minister of Education to provide sufficient time for students who are expected to sit for the examinations to complete their studies following the opening of the schools. The practical classes for the third-year students in Uvavallas universities resumed today, and its Vice-Chancellor, Professor Jayanthala Ratnasekara, announced the program to provide booster vaccine doses under the COVID-19 immunization program commenced yesterday. The booster dose will be provided initially for frontline workers, including health sector. The booster dose will be provided for persons who have taken the second dose of the COVID vaccine and completed the 6-month period. Another vaccination centre has been established at St. Luke's Church in Boralla to provide the vaccine doses for the staff of the Lady Ridgeway Hospital. The children between the ages of 16 and 19 were inoculated at the centre. The inoculation of booster dose for health workers in Batikla district is currently on the way. This program has been conducted encompassing 14 medical health officers divisions. A total of 29,100,666 vaccine doses have been administered in the country under the COVID-19 immunization program. A total of 15,621,332 persons have received the first dose of the vaccine thus far. Meanwhile, 13,476,941 have received both the doses. A total of 2,393 have received the booster dose at present. A total of 498 COVID-19 infected persons have been identified in the country today. The number of active cases is at 14,827. A total of 448 recoveries were reported today, increasing the overall tally to 513,543. The Director General of Health Services confirmed 10 COVID-19 related deaths which occurred yesterday. Minister Keheliya Rambukwala said that plans have been formulated to manufacture medicines required for the country within the country in the next 5 years. He pointed out that 50% of this project will be completed under 5 stages. An investment plan will be carried out during the first 2 years. The minister made these remarks during the meeting with Indian High Commission to Sri Lanka, Gopal Bagle, yesterday. The minister pointed out that steps have been taken to initiate this plan and the production of saline is currently underway in the country. The minister also said that commencement of the inoculation of the booster dose indicates the positive outlook of Sri Lanka's health sector as well as the vaccination program. The vaccination of children in the country is also underway successfully. The Indian High Commissioner said that the vaccination of children in India has not been initiated thus far, though reviews in this regard are underway. He said that 50% of the Indian population has already been inoculated. The High Commissioner has further said that Indian investors and pharmaceutical industrialists are prepared to commence pharmaceutical industries in Sri Lanka, which can pave the path to reach out the greater pharmaceutical market.
The Cabinet of Ministers has granted approval for an MOU between the General Sir John Kothalavala Defence University and the Duke University of the United States. The relevant MOU between the universities are expected to be reached to conduct the proposed research project to control the melioidosis bacterium spread. The relevant proposal was presented by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. The Cabinet of Ministers granted approval to the General Policy Guidelines for Electricity and to formulate a minimum cost long-term generation plan for the period from 2022 to 2041. The relevant proposal was presented by Minister Gamini Lukuge, and the Cabinet also approved the proposal to table the guidelines in the Parliament. The Cabinet has granted approval to lease out the warehouse and building premises belonging to the Cooperative Wholesale Corporation to private entities on rent basis and for public-private partnership investment projects. The relevant proposal was presented by Minister Gamini Lukuge. The Cabinet has also granted approval to award contracts up to 50 million rupees for construction work under the Vari Saubhagya program following the direct contract awarding method to semi-government institutions. The relevant proposal was tabled by Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. And on other news, the Ceylon Electricity Board has said that no power interruptions will occur in the country in the next 2 days. The chairman of the board, MMS Ferdinando, mentioned that uninterrupted power supply for the public is a professional responsibility of the Electricity Board. Chairman of Ceylon Electricity Board, MMS Ferdinando, said that efforts will be taken to normalize the power supply in case of an interruption on the 3rd and 4th of November. He added that all employees of the Ceylon Electricity Board are contracted to provide the necessary power supply to fulfill the requirements of the nation. He said that as the chairman of the board, he believes that no entity would become a part of such sabotage. He said that despite the claims made for political purposes, no action can be taken to disrupt the lives of the people. Well, that's a wrap on tonight's Rupavahini English News. Join us once again tomorrow. Until then, thanks for watching. Have a great night.
Have a pleasant night and stay safe.